Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And this is Tuesday, which means we are going to dive once again into Level Up Advanced 5th Edition, um, created and produced by N World. Yours truly, DBJ, was part of the design team working on Trials and Treasures, one of the three books created as a written from the ground up 1600 page redo of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And today we have been going through two class types per day, about 20 minutes to a half an hour per class. And I bet this is going to be one of those situations where we're going to take a full half an hour for each class. Now, mainly because of their spell casting type of class features. So we're going to go through the Sorcerer and the Warlock today as we pare down on our levels, classes, and the levels and features that they have. You're going to see a lot of commonalities, but uh, there are some features, especially of the Warlock, that have really changed, and we'll delve into that. So anyway, thank you guys for showing up. If you take part in the show, Monday through Friday, we go live 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you take part in the show, you too could become a co-host who's part of the show. And also, all other ways to interact with the show are down in a doobly doo. Let's get into it. So here we have the Sorcerer, and as usual, we have our descriptors of what the Sorcerer is to the left, and we have our chart um, dictating the level of the character, the proficiency bonus, and then whatever specified character class features gained or modified at each level. And of course, we have next to our proficiency bonus on the right side of the screen, we have sorcery points gained, uh, the amount of sorcery points the character has per level, the features that they gain, and then innovations known. Every character class in 5th edition has some kind of known traits, whether they're called knacks or innovations, secrets, or what have you, that as you gain levels, you're able to pick them based on the style of campaign that you're running, whether it is very social, very explorative, or um, uh, combat focused. And they're usually very minor modifications to the character, but allow each character class to be very different, even if everyone plays the same class. You could absolutely positively play character classes, the exact same character classes, and have completely different feelings um, based on the direction that you choose. So, of course, we have some of their information, like they're instinctive, it's fortune or folly for them, and they are innovators, and some hints about creating a sorcerer. And then we page down here for the class features. A die six for hit dice. Normally, their proficiencies, they have no armor proficiencies. For weapons, it's very limited. Daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, light crossbows, very close to wizards. Saving throws are Constitution and Charisma, and then some skill choices. Here on the right, we do have some equipment, the Light Traveler set or the Troublemaker set, which are these are reconfigured sets of easy to pick equipment that the each of the classes has, and they also come with a pack. So there's like an equipment set, and then there's like a pack set. So usually, like the equipment pack is basically the backpack, and then with the sets for each of the character classes, it's something very easy to pick. Usually includes some kind of weaponry. Like for the Troublemaker set, you get 2 daggers, a light crossbow, and quiver with 20 bolts, plus the Explorer's pack and an arcane focus. Mm-mm-mm. Then we have spell casting and such, and then explains into a font of magic how sorcery points are used and flexible casting. Of course, you can use your sorcery points to gain additional spell slots or sacrifice spell slots to gain additional sorcery points. Then we'll get into manifestations. Let's get into the chat. Good there. Okay, let's continue on. Sorry, just keeping an eye on the chat here. So under manifestations at second level, you also choose one of the following manifestations, which represents a kind of energy you are especially effective at producing. When you cast a spell that deals acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder damage, you can change the damage type to your manifestations type. And that's a big deal at second level. So, spells that cause these other damage types, you can then choose to turn it into that one. And of course, we have here Blizzard for cold. And I'll read one of these off in a minute. Corrosion, meaning acid. Hurricane, either for lightning or thunder. And Inferno for fire. And Venom for poison. And so, for example, if you choose one of your manifestations as fire, or the Inferno manifestation, which is fire, when you cast a spell that deals fire damage, you can spend one sorcery point and choose one creature you can see. If that creature takes fire damage from the spell, it is also set ablaze, taking 2d4 ongoing fire damage for a number of rounds equal to the spell's level, or until it uses an action to put itself out. So, and each of these has a different, somewhat different effect. For example, under Hurricane as your manifestation at second level, you can treat both lightning and thunder as your manifestation's damage types, which is kind of cool, which is pretty powerful. When you cast a spell that deals lightning or thunder damage, you can spend one sorcery point to produce a thunderous blast around you. Large or smaller creatures within 5 feet of you must succeed on a strength saving throw against your spell, save DC, or be pushed back 10 feet and knocked prone. It's kind of cool. This is a way to flavor your sorcerer. Of course, there's latent power, and each of the spell. Sorry, each level that you as you gain levels in your class follows the same pattern in Level Up Fifth Edition. Um, Meaning that as when you gain to a particular level, you usually have 2 to 4 options so that as your character gains levels and the world that you're gaming in, usually that they are like something combat related, something socially interactive, and something explorative. Not always, but there's usually at least 3 options. Like I said, 2 to 4, but those options allow you to customize your character as you move along. So, for example, we have here at third level, you have latent power. Your sorcerer archetype starts to manifest as something people can subconsciously sense, even if they know nothing beyond the mundane, and it affects how they see you. Choose one of the following, and then it's either all eyes, where you gain expertise on performance and persuasion checks, daunting energy, where you gain expertise on intimidation, or unsuspecting, you gain expertise die on deception checks. And there's some detail, a little mechanical feature here, and some fluff. And then at third level, of course, sorcerers have meta magic, and we go with minor meta magics and major magics as you gain levels. At third level, you gain the ability to twist your spells to suit your needs. You gain 2 minor meta magic options and 1 moderate meta magic option. You gain another minor meta magic option at 5th level, 10th, 15th, and 19th. And you gain an additional moderate meta magic option at 10th and 19th level. When you gain a level in this class, you can replace one meta magic option with another. Instead of replacing a spell, you can only use one meta magic option on a spell when you cast it, unless otherwise noted. And then there's a list of them. And then the moderates in the list of those as well. ASI, ability score improvements, arcane innovations. Now arcane, your innovations are like the knacks and talents from the other class features. These are like small, minor um, tricks of the trade for your character class as you gain levels, and they are listed at the end of the character class. For those character classes that cast spells, it's probably second to last because they're also at the end of the spell casting classes. You have a list of all your spells, so you don't have to page flip when you're if you have access to the adventurer's guide. But anyway, here we got Arcane Refinement at 6th level, Rapturous Presence at 9th level, and Evolving Manifestations at 12th level. And again, as you could see under, for example, sixth level here on the left side of my face, there's arcane refinement, and then you have choices either deep font or patient aptitude, etc. And there's rapturous presence. You have choices such as larger than life, nobody's fool, or otherworldly. And then under evolving manifestations, you have a choices either evolving blizzard, evolving corrosion, or evolving hurricane. And if I'm not mistaken, it does move on to yep, here we go, evolving inferno and evolving venom. Then we get into our major meta magics and such. Now, here we are with our innovations, and you when you gain access to a new arcane innovation, choose one of the following. Again, customization. This is all about going wide with the design team rather than going broad and just gaining more power. So we do have our arcane innovations, and you can choose any of the following when you have access to them, such as like draw nourishment, hot air, which is funny, lingering touch, mage hunter, magnetic step, strange traces, etc. So, for example, in under draw nourishment, you can consume things that most people wouldn't consider sustenance, though it's hardly pleasant. You can spend 3 sorcery points before eating a pound of just about anything organic, such as bark, grass, cactus flesh, bone, whatever's at hand. And so long as you can stomach the taste, it counts as one supply for you as your body transforms it into something more edible. A poisonous substance consumed in this way is still poisonous. There's like hot air. Your source of magic is strangely buoyant. Anytime you have sorcery points remaining, your body is reduced by your weight is reduced by half, and you take half damage from falling. Additionally, if you are carrying less than a quarter of your maximum equipment load, you float on water. It's a version of Featherfall, kind of, sort of. um, Magnetic step. You can move along vertical surfaces at half your speed without needing to make an ability check. If you end your turn on such a surface, you immediately fall, unless you have some other way to support yourself. And it goes on and on and on. There's some other choices: Mage Hunter, Retrace, etc. And this is a way, of course, to customize your sorcerer at each step. And then we have our sorcerer archetypes. We have the Draconist, dragons, get that. The Enigma, which is the magics of Enigma, sorcerers spring from something ancient and possibly alien, likely dating back to well before the sentient races learned to control arcana. And it can be especially erratic, often surprising even them. Sometimes their inner magical wellspring feels like it has its own personality and motives, and they may even try to negotiate with it in stressful situations where a sorcerer needs it to cooperate. The Enigma is a substitute for like the chaos mage, but you have a bit more control on designing your character. So the character may not understand what they are, but the player does, and it's just a matter of role playing. And we give there's a lot of options in how to do that. Reach beyond, retributive surge. There's also the above my head here on the right. There's archetype spells, archetypical spells for your Enigma. Of course, on the left, the Draconis, they have the spells and the features that you get for that sorcerer archetype. And then we have the Traveler, a third one. The very being of a traveler sorcerer is tied to something from elsewhere in the multiverse that calls to them from beyond the material plane. They may be the descendant of an extraplanar ancestor, a survivor of a disastrous excuse me, survivor of a disastrous conjunction of the planes, the heir of a family curse from a spiteful fae, or something else entirely. One way or another, the traveler sorcerer's very essence seeks to chase horizons unknown. Whether they follow its whims proudly or resist its pull, it grants them powers to help them on their travels. And then we have the spells that are available to them, and the features. Mm, 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 mm. Touch the void, and then we have all of our spell choices. Let's see what the chat. Let's see what our. Ah, nobody's there. Okay, no problem. Mm. All the spell level. They say. Oh, I was gonna say, is that fifth level? All right, now we get into the warlock and the slight controversy of bits and pieces changed from the warlock. All right, so we have again we have our table of features for the warlock, beginning at uh, what level you are, your proficiency bonus, the feature that you gain at whichever level that you attain. And then we have at the top, going across from left to right, we have cantrips known, spells known, spell points, spell level that you achieve, and then secrets and invocations. And again, secrets, uh, much like the every other character class in fifth edition, it are a number of features beginning at you get one of them at second level, you get a second one at eighth level, and so on and so forth. Another way to customize the character and to customize them again based on the campaign setting that you are engaged in. If your game group is very social, maybe you want to pick some of those. And also, if all the player characters are picking one class and you want to do like all of them follow one particular warlock patron or something like that, this is another way to customize, making your choices broad, more choice than just more power. And then, of course, you have warlock invocations. That was about creating a warlock. Uh, Hit points is D8, proficiency with light armor. Um, Weapons is just simple weapons, and tools is a game set of cards. And then there's saving throws or intelligence and wisdom, etc. And then there are equipment choices. There's the heretical scholars set, the inconspicuous civilian set, and the shadowy scoundrel set, depending on the type of warlock you are playing. Of course, you have pack magic, warlock archetype at first level. You pick, and then you have your pack magic with your cantrips, spell points, and the spell points that you have available to you, and how to cast those spells. Now, the biggest thing here, I'm going to go to a single page and let's see, let's do it this way. No, single page. There we go. Sorry. So I can let it. There we are. So that you can see these features. Hopefully, my forehead it will not be in the way. All right. Eldritch Blast. The concept of the Eldritch Blast has been changed in Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition, and I actually have a specific video about this early on during the spotlighted on the playtest. But Eldritch Blast has been subdivided. First, it's been given turned into a class feature. So Eldritch Blast is no longer a spell. Instead, Eldritch Blast is done this way. At first level, you learn to use your patron's power as a weapon, blasting enemies with an eldritch force that defies even the laws of magic. Choose one of the following features. And there's Eldritch Disturbance, Eldritch Ray, excuse me, Eldritch Scythe, and Eldritch Whip. And then as you gain levels and choices, you can modify your ability to use the Eldritch Blast feature. So it is a class feature now. So, for example, under Eldritch Disturbance, you can use an action to strike a creature you can see within 60 feet with a reality distorting curse, blending pain, both mental and physical. The target makes a wisdom saving throw, taking 1d4 force damage on a failure or half damage on a success. Or one of your other choices could be Eldritch Ray. You can use an action to create a deadly beam that strikes a creature within 120 feet, make a ranged spell attack against the creature, dealing 1d10 force damage on a hit. Or you may have an Eldritch Scythe. Once per turn, when you would make a melee weapon attack as part of the attack action or an opportunity attack, you can instead make a melee spell attack, lashing out with an ephemeral and unearthly blade. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 force damage. In addition, you can choose a creature that you can see and that is within your reach. It takes half as much damage. Or an Eldritch Whip. You can use an action to thrash a creature with the scintillating tendril of arcane force. Make a melee spell attack against a creature within 15 feet, dealing 1d6 force damage on a hit. At the end of your turn, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to half the damage you dealt with Eldritch Whip this turn, minimum of one, which lasts until the end of your next turn. When you hit a creature with your Eldritch Whip and you already have temporary hit points, you can end the temporary hit points early to gain a bonus to the Eldritch Whip's damage roll equal to half the number of temporary hit points you ended early. and then we have our Eldritch invocations. So yes, Eldritch Blast has become a class feature, and there are four options to it. Not no four, neither of the four choices are called blast. It's either disturbance, ray, scythe, or whip. To again personalize your warlock. Under Eldritch invocations, there's a number of them. Learn extra secrets, secrets of the Arcana, your Pact boon, whether it's Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Chain, or Pact of the Tome. Not much has changed there. Under Pact, under Pact of the Blade, you can choose any simple or martial weapon when you conjure your packed weapon. You are proficient with it, etc., etc. Your packed weapon disappears if it is more than 5 feet away from you for 1 minute or more. And then, um, in addition, by performing a 1 hour ritual while holding a magic weapon or rare weapon, you could transform it into your packed weapon. If this weapon has a bonus to attack or damage rolls, or if it deals bonus damage, you can apply these to your Eldritch Blast. Such as ranged weapons add these bonuses to Eldritch Ray, and melee weapons to Eldritch Scythe. It has no effect on Eldritch Disturbance or Eldritch Whip. You can then dismiss the weapon, shunting it into an extra dimensional space, and it appears whenever you create your packed weapon thereafter. You can't affect an artifact or a sentient weapon in this way. It goes on for further details. Of course, we have our ability score improvements, invocation of the courts, and extra blast. So, for example, this is when you start to modify your Eldritch Blast feature, such as at 5th level, your Eldritch Blast becomes more vicious. Um, and then at 11th level, you can make 3 attacks. At 17th level, you can make 4 attacks. In addition, your Eldritch Disturbance's damage increases by d10. These improvements are based on your Warlock level, not your character level. This feature otherwise counts as extra attack for the purposes of qualifying for feats, spell effects, and the like. And such. I didn't read the whole thing, so basically look it up. Also, be aware. Let's put this into the chat. Let's. All right. Hey, N King. The N King says unearthly blades, very unpopular on Venus. Yep. Pack blade is one of those warlock features that is technically unnecessary, but I deeply love it anyway. Yeah, it's got some. It's got its like. Uh, you can't fight the lore, right? It's kind of a cool thing to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw the weapon, pretend to throw the weapon behind me, and it just disappears, and then you summon it again, and all that. Yeah, just like the what's the other one? The Arcane Knight? Oh, Eldritch Knight. Same thing, right? Yeah. But but again, uh, as I'm going to keep repeating, for the Warlock, it is a lot more choices. And sorry, of course, we have the Warlock invocations. Some of them are modified just because the Warlock now has some other abilities, and the Eldritch Blast has been broken and become a class feature and been broken into four abilities. So you're going to see some modifications to some of them. Let me see if I can find one. Find the one that does the where you're able to shift it around. For example, here we go. Eldritch Prism. A prerequisite is that you need to be 7th level and have Eldritch Disturbance. There's Eldritch Squall, which you need to be 7th level and have Eldritch Ray feature. So there are some prerequisites, and it's based on what how you modified your character and what choices you made. Of course, Eldritch Warrior, you can gain proficiency with medium armor and martial weapons if you want to be you know, uh, jump into the middle of the fight a little bit more. Eldritch Tentacle, for example, you can modify like when you hit a creature with the Eldritch Blast, or when a creature fails its saving throw against it, you can pull the creature up to 10 feet straight towards you. So, and there's ways to modify that ability. This was also the other design feature to modify your Eldritch Blast is that instead of just a whole bunch of extra dice, which level up during the survey results in level up advanced 5th edition return was that a lot of people wanted to have a the desire was to balance out the choices so that there in level up advanced 5th edition there are very few purely reasonable or even desirable choices that are far better than other choices. So you're going to see a leveling out. Some people call it nerfing, but essentially the design goal was like, listen, there we all know that in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, some choices are better than others. And this was a way to make the game feel like, hey, any choice I make is a reasonable choice to engage in the game. So a lot of the features to affect your Eldritch Blast feature are spread out. You get to do different things with it rather than just adding more dice. Sorry, long way to go about doing a simple thing. But all these are choices. These are all invocations, et cetera, that you get to pick as you move on. Psionic sorcery and stuff. You'll see where you're getting like psionic sorcery and alienist and all that kind of stuff. All right, here we go. We get to the secrets of the arcana. So before I get into it, I just want to describe secrets of the arcana. So warlocks have secrets. Again, every character class has uh, a these like small things to modify your character. You're not going to get a lot of power growth, but again, it is a way to engage in the campaign setting, whether it's more combat focused, explorative, exploring the unknown, or social. And these things allow you to pick and choose them based at different levels so that you can kind of customize your character. So again, another feature was, yes, you could sit down and go through level up 5th edition and plan out your character from first level to 20th level. You could do that, but we wanted to we as if I was on that part of the team. I wasn't. But we wanted to make sure that there were choices, significant choices made along the way, because we don't know what your gaming style will be, and you're the person who's the narrator at your table. And so, if you're playing more of a political intrigue, Game of Thrones, it may not it might not be a smart thing to pick some of the more combat oriented features, especially at early levels. So this was just another way to modify the character along the growth and make it significant rather than making it broad. So I'll get back into what our co-hosts have to say. But yeah, here, and of course, there's some prerequisites as well. But yeah, these are all minor things. Like, for example, Devil's Sight is a choice. Eldritch Sight is a choice. Inscrutability is a choice, but you have to be 13th level, et cetera, et cetera. One with shadows, otherworldly leap, like, you are under the constant effects of the jump spell. This effect does not emit a magical aura. Um, there's a slight homage to like the Sith and the Jedi in this part of the thing. So yeah, you could do that. Portents and portals, visions, etc. And then we get into warlock archetypes. Let me get back to what you guys have to say. Mm, 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 mm. All right, the End King says if you're a warlock, you don't want to get close to that guy, but I want to anyway. did, did you make this? I'm liking it. Okay, the simple answer is no, 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 no. Level Up 5th edition is 5th edition written from the ground up. I was part of the writing team for the exploration book, which is called Trials and Treasures. So there's 3 books. There's the Adventurer's Guide. Some would say that that's like the player's handbook. There's Trials and Treasures, which some would say is like the Dungeon Master's Guide. And then there's the Monstrous Menagerie, which is like the monster manual. And all 3 of those books, it took about 30 of us to uh, 30 of us divided up into different groups, all working together with project managers over each book, and then those project managers went back to the Morris the and Mike Myler, the individuals that run N World, and so I was part of the design team specific to a book, specific to a portion of the book. So I had access to all of this as it was being written, but I didn't. I wasn't a writer on it. So the short answer is no. I didn't write. don't don't give me that credit. I didn't create this, but was I on the design team? Yes, and I got to see its development and basically give context to like why some decisions were made. For example, some people will ask a simple question, well, what's different? And I sit back and I have to take a deep breath, and I'm going, mm, everything, but none of it. It's like it's all little things and little tweaks to make it to ostensibly make the game better, but there's no specific choice that sticks out as this is the thing that's changed, right? Or at least it, I've got a video that goes into like why there are certain changes and which are some of the bigger changes, but there aren't very many choices where you go, you know what, if I make a character of this type, this is the thing to pick because it's better than all the others. That's not a thing here. All right, so here we go with our warlock archetypes. We have the expanded spell list for the particular warlock that you want to play and the type of warlock that you're going to play. And they are divided into types styles of warlock. So, for example, under the expanded spell list, when you choose an archetype, you also choose an expanded spell list your patron grants you access to. Choose one patron expanded spell list. These spells count as warlock spells for you. Um, and enigmatic and often horrifying patrons of the alienist convey the secrets of psionics and the stars. Some also teach about the darkness between the stars. There's patrons of the Diabolus, often portrayed as demons, devils, and the shadow of the inner self, often grant spells of darkness and fire. Fairies instruct others spellbound on capricious spells related to bewilderment and mobility in the unsealed courts, so on and so forth. Excuse me. So instead of creating a specific multiple archetypes, instead basically you have a spell list, and you get, again, this is about customizing. You do have a patron, but you get to choose your expanded spell list associated with your patron, such as we have bewilderment expanded spell lists that easily relate to like the Fae maybe, or madness. There's darkness spell expanded spell list here. There's the fire expanded spell list, the mobility expanded spell list, and so on. And then we have the psionics expanded spell list, and the stars, etc. And with those, there is you can, along with your expanded spell list, you get to customize it with what kind of warlock do you want to be. Do you want to be an alienist? And you have certain things like psionic awakening, starstruck, etc. as choices. Mutated carapace. There's also the Diabolus, pretty classic for a warlock. And we have the Spellbound, envoys of the dreaming, knights of Eladrin courts, victims of fate mischief, excuse me, tricksters of all stripes, etc. That is it. And then we have all the Fae, and then of course at the very end we have our warlock spell list. Mm, 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 mm. Let me move down. I need an image. I want to get to a really cool image before we get to something else. These are all the spells. Oh, I guess we're not going to get. Now we get in the wizard. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's get back to what what you guys have to say. The End King says alienist is a cool word. I'm getting that. I'm getting like a conspiracies in the Roswell desert vibe, which is good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe you can flavor your character any way you want to, right? And of course there's the cool idea where as a player you know what's going on, but as the character they may not. And so um the the alienist choice, of course you can go straight Lovecraftian, right? Like my patron is Cthulhu or the Yellow King or Yog Sothoth or something like that, or there could be like a calling, and like beginning at first level there's something in your head that's calling you out to some alien force or being, and as you gain levels this calling is come reaching out to you, and you're calling to it, and it may be summoning you. And maybe in your role-playing game there are air quotes aliens come to your fantasy realm, right? I mean, we've seen aliens in ElfQuest, which were like psionic elves or something, or anything you want to create. So, yeah. Now, of course, as we go on, we're going to next Tuesday we'll go into Wizard and such. But because these are two spell casting, because these are two spell casting classes, I need to go to, let's see, which page is this? 286. Okay, so let's go to, I'm going to have to show you, we don't need that. We need to go to 496. All right, we're going to go to spells. And why is this showing up? And is it showing up? Yes. No. I want to close that. I wasn't trying to do that. I don't like Microsoft. Sorry about that. I need to show you something specific in spells and spell casting that is a bit different, and this is going to also flavor the type of spells you pick, how the spells are categorized, and I dare say, spellcasters being able to customize your spellcaster as you adventure in your specific game. These are basically, I want to say, I want to call them treasure, but it's not exactly treasure in the classic sense. But this is a throwback to the OSR. So here we have a number of spells, and if you go to A5E.tools, advanced fifth edition tools, that's the electronic. Let's see if I can. Let me throw this into the chat. Sorry. There we go. Mm-mm. Let's copy and paste this into the chat. Uh, boop, 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 boop. These are the electronic tools for Advanced Fifth Edition, and you can go there. You can navigate through the game, some of the rules, the choices, if you are uncertain about them. But this specific thing, when we get to spells, you'll see here. This is the first spell, Accelerando. It's a fourth level spell, and you'll see transmutation. We've seen this characterization before, um, but categorization before. But enhancement, movement, sound, and time is brand new for level up A5E. So in A5E, Advanced Fifth Edition, you can either as a player talk to your narrator, you can limit, choose, pick spells that are within a specific category and look them up in that way, such as maybe you want spells related to time or sound, or there's an enemy that has this, or maybe a player character is like, listen, I got a different idea for my spellcaster, right? My warlock or my sorcerer is a person out of time. Maybe they're from a far future and they've been thrown back in time. And you use a narrator like, you know what? That's a really cool idea. Here's the thing. How about you only have time spells, and we modify the spells that you have a choice from. Since as a sorcerer or warlock, you only have a limited number of spells. How about we just give you access to only time spells? And that's another way to modify or have some choices. Yes, it is limiting your choices, but it also makes them different because you might have some other spell choices in there that are different from any other character class type. And that's kind of cool. The other thing in the spells is that on any number of spells, probably about 30 to 40% of the spells, at the end of the spell, you're going to see something here that is a rare version of the spell. And under rare versions of spells, you cannot pick them during character creation. You only find them out in the wild. And so this is an incentive to go out exploring, to find spells that are different than the ones you have and that make you more unique. And also by putting so many of them in the game, it gives the narrator like, hey, the narrator goes, you know what? Maybe this NPC does have a modified version of the spell, and maybe that player is able to find their spell book, or maybe it's written on the walls, or it's, I don't know, written on the the inside skin of a cloak, or heck, written on the innocent victims' bodies, or whatever, or whatever the case might be. And so you may be able to find these and put them. These are specifically rare spells that are a different spell than the one you already have, and it has something else. For example, in the rare version of this spell, It adds that a target's additional action can be used to escape a grapple, and targets have advantage in saving throws made to avoid or escape a grapple. But let's go to some more of the classic spells. Um, for here, we have Acid Arrow, and then at the bottom, there are two rare versions, like Gobble's Blinding Acid Arrow and Crevin's Insidious Acid Arrow. And there are additional features in it, such as for the blinding arrow, the arrow flies to the target's sensory organs, seeking to damage its sight. A creature damaged by the spell makes a dexterity saving throw, or it is blinded until the end of its next turn. And the insidious arrow, the acid sinks and disorients as it burns. A creature damaged by the spell makes a constitution saving throw with advantage, or it is poisoned until the end of its next turn. And there's a bunch of these. Here's another one that's rare: Secret's Fortifying Aid, et cetera, et cetera. And so these are like, it's basically embedded in the spells themselves, that there's like, oh, there's a different version of that spell out there, and you might come across it by going to different realms in your world and exploring and things like that. And there's also casting at higher level, but again, um, rare spells, Sidoneth's Lasting Animal Friendship, et cetera, et cetera. So let me get back into the chat. And the End King says, "Oh, that's great. It's also the caster equivalent of finding a magic item in a chest somewhere." Yeah, if you're an old grog nerd, if you're an old man like me, you remember back in the day that like literally within the game, you couldn't you had to find spells of higher level. It wasn't automatic. Hey, when I want go to fifth to sixth level, I automatically get to look in the book and fit. No, no, no. It wasn't like that. In AD&D, you actually had to find them. So you wanted to, you know, fight other wizards and fight other magical beings that had access to scrolls, because every time you found a scroll, you wanted to write down that scroll into your spell book as an option, and there was a percentage chance you couldn't do it. There was a percentage chance that you could never learn the fireball spell. But this isn't that case. This is hey, wizards need something too, and not wizards, but spellcasters need something too. And since we're talking about sorcerers and warlocks today, this is another feature. Like maybe there are, as your warlock, maybe your patron is saying, "Hey, you need to go to this distant land on the other side of the mountains through the valley pass or something, and you'll find a great powerful wizard there." And there's a good reason for your character to go out and explore. Maybe you might find a rare version of a spell. The End King says, "Ooh, that's great. It's like the caster equivalent of finding a magic item in a chest somewhere." Yeah. Yep. 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 What did it hit twice? It's weird. Oh, okay. Anyway, but yes, you are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct with that. So, also with cast, there are a large number of spells that if you cast them at higher levels, they do different things at higher levels. So it's not just like, oh, I cast a blast spell and that blast spell does more damage. Some of these have higher ranges, longer durations. Maybe you can pick other damage types, etc. For example, like under Animate Dead, the rare version of this is Kaminal's Chilling Animate Dead, such as natural weapon attacks by undead created using this spell deal cold damage instead of bludgeoning damage. So you'll get something a little bit different, or something. Maybe the spell does. Maybe the rare spell it isn't concentration any longer. Maybe it's you can cast it faster or create the other effects and such. So there is a little bit of like things embedded in here. For example, there are spells. Don't ask me this question because I can't answer it. There are brand new spells or there have been some problematic spells that have been recontextualized. Like anti magic field has been. There are rare versions of that one, such as the rare version of anti magic field. This spell's range increases to 30 feet, but your concentration on the spell ends when you move. Or creatures that are within the area when the spell is cast gain temporary hit points equal to your level. These temporary hit points last while they are within the spell's area. And that's under anti magic field. And these are rare versions of the same thing. So you might have some extra effects and such. Mm, 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 mm. There's a rare version of Arcane Eye, Arcane Hand. But anyway, there's a bunch of these. It'll take forever. I'm only on the A's and go on and on with that. But I just wanted to show off the sorcerer. I'm gonna go page backwards. Oh no, you're fine there, Ed King. Um, so I'm gonna go back to the. Let's go back to the warlock. Let's see. Invocation. Let's head back up here. Actually, let's go to the 2-page spread. Mm-mm-mm. Sorry about that. I know it's like, what is he doing? Go back up to the sorcerer and sorcerer archetypes. So again, you take a look at this, and I'll page for it slowly because we got a little bit of time here. Under the sorcerer, there are like innovations that and again for all the character classes in Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition, such as the meta magic for the sorcerer and some of the choices for sorcerer and for the warlock for the invocations. There's other modifications, especially for the warlock. The Eldritch Blast, the Eldritch Blast dump and pump has been removed or modified, so you actually have different things you can use with it, and just to make that better and more interesting. Again, you will see a heading, and then you'll see choices below that heading. Usually, the heading is in green, such as here we have our manifestations for the sorcerer, and then you get to pick a manifestation, whether it's like blizzard, hurricane, inferno, venom, or something, and then certain things like under latent powers and such. And then you get to flavor them the way you want to based on the kinds of interactions you're going to have in your gaming world, et cetera, et cetera. And then the meta magics. Under sorcerer, under the meta magics, like for the minor meta magics, we have, of course, a delayed spell, distant spell, persistent, reliable, subdual, subtle, treacherous, and such. And then there's ways that you can modify the spells that you cast. Like for persistent, when you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend one sorcery point to double the duration to a maximum of 24 hours. Or subtle spell. When you cast a spell, you can spend one sorcery point to cast it without any vocalized or seen components, etc., etc. And then there's moderate meta magics, such as like careful spell, empowered spell, heightened, quickened, reflexive, refracting, etc. And again, under arcane refinement, you have choices. Under rapturous presence, you have choices. Under evolving manifestation, you have choices. Mm, 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 mm. And of course, under evolving manifestation, when you first pick your manifestation, second level, it's some kind of like elemental effect, and then these just make it better. So if you picked Blizzard at second level, when you have your evolving manifestation, you have the evolving Blizzard. Like when you cast a spell at first level or higher that deals cold damage, you can spend one sorcery point to gain 1d6 temporary hit points per level of the spell cast. While you have these temporary hit points and a creature hits you with a melee weapon attack, the attacker takes 1d10 cold damage. These temporary hit points last for 1 hour. And I can imagine you making up someone like Iceman or something like that. I picture the X-Men. I don't know why, but I just did. But yeah. All right. Let's see what the End King and others have to say. Okay, that's it. But anyway, unless there's anything else anyone has to say about this, just wanted to let you guys know about like um, all the character class options. Of course, we can do multiple hours on one reading through all the options for every character class. It's a little bit unreasonable to ask me of that, and for you too. I don't think you want to hear me talk for hours and hours about one character class, but um, I because I was part of it, and I love how it was designed, and as an option for people who really love fifth edition rules and don't want to learn something else, but they don't want to support maybe Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro or Dungeons and Dragons. This is an option. Of course, there's Black Flag is out there, which is now the official name, called Tales of the Valiant. That is accessible out there. They're doing the playtest for that. The one D&D playtests, which they're basically saying that that's just a placeholder name for the playtest. It's still going to be called Fifth Edition. That's available, and then there's Pathfinder, and there's other versions that are very closely tied to Fifth Edition. This just happens to be one of them. Yeah, the Annie King says picturing the X Men makes a lot of sense. The Sorcerer, if played a certain way, could be very superheroic. Not only that, but I really I appreciate the okay. Let me come at this from a different point of view. There are individuals who are upset that sorcerers don't have as many spell options as wizards. It's because they're different. Sorcerers have a limited spell arcane ability, but they're very good at what they do. So usually, sorcerers tend to be the ones born into power, not ones who learn it. It's usually internal, and we see this in fantasy media all the time. You know, the innocent young person that has power that they can't control is a lot different than the person who learns magic through books. And we see the person that's born into power, but maybe it's uncontrollable, or they tend to be more powerful than the ones who learn it, but the ones who learn it have more nuance and more choices. So sorcerers are narrow focused, like X-Men mutants, rather than Doctor Strange, who's got a wide range of abilities. Um, and also, we know that there are mutants that are like Omega level mutants. That would be like a character that's like 15th level and above. You know, you're extremely powerful. But also, the X-Men analogy is maybe the character's trying to learn to do things. And of course, this is a role playing thing, right? The player knows what stats are written down, but the character may not know that they have access to a fireball now. They maybe the player knows that they gained level and got it, but the characters might be like, "Stop! Don't hurt me!" And they light them on fire. They're like, "What the? I didn't know I could do that thing." You know, and it's fun for role playing aspects of that, and also depending on your gaming world, there might be a there might be some social differences between wizards and sorcerers. You know, uncontrollable. Oh, thanks, there, N King, the N King. Yeah, it's. I mean, does the population know that sorceress people um, are around? Are they dangerous like the X Men? You know, do are small children or those going through puberty? Do they suddenly set houses on fire or create bolts of lightning out of their hands or read the minds of the population and people are scared of them? Is that a thing? Are they hunted down? Are they recruited? Is there a proverbial uh, Professor X going around recruiting them? By the way, I did. There's an old series that I did where we would take every character class and world build around that character class. So we took every class: the fighter, the warlock, the sorcerer, the bards, and then we shaped the world as if that character class shaped that world. And this was part of that, where you had like bloodlines and um, people wanted to be uh, embraced by that bloodline so that their kids too could have that blood in them. Some were being hunted or recruited, found, as maybe they had birthmarks or something, and there were groups of agents and things going around the countryside, trying to collect, buy, kidnap, capture, cajole, recruit, enhance, train these individuals uh, based on where you lived and how important they were to society and things like that. So yeah, it was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool thing to do, to do that. But yeah, thank you, the End King. I appreciate it. Anyway, not to hold any of you here any longer, and for those who actually find the show and tune in and things like that, I'll let you go a little early. We usually go in a bit over an hour, but not today. Tomorrow is on Wednesdays. To For those who don't know, we have Monster Monday, we have Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition Tuesday, World Building Wednesday, third pillar of exploration, because that's my jam. I kind of consider myself to be the third pillarist of the RPG community. Kind of dictatorial that way. I haven't seen anybody knock me off my pedestal yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And of course, for Friday, we have Future Friday, where we talk about tabletop role playing games of a slightly less than modern day, all the way to the near future and far future, and aspects like that. And sometimes we kind of go and we kind of do like armchair post-humanism, transhumanism, AI, and things like that. I think this Friday we'll probably delve into that a little bit. Um, I started out with a little bit of the OSR versus D&D 5e kind of thing. Whatever happens, this is seat of the pants, so you guys kind of control that. The End King says, in a world like that, a sorcerer and inquisitor being in the same party could be really intense. And yeah, dude, yeah. Like, well, listen, it could be. It depends on the role, right? Like the inquisitor might be tasked with finding this person, but what if they're a relative, or what if they just um yeah, dead. Thank you, dead man. Dead man is like, wait a minute, why can't the Inquisitor be a sorcerer? Yeah, we've seen that play out in the X-Men, where um Rachel Summers, they literally had human beings with collars around their neck, like called hounds, that were psychic people hunting down other mutants out in the world. Yeah, the Inquisitor could be the sorcerer. Maybe it's a little bit of, I'm gonna say it so that you guys don't have to, maybe there's a little bit of Uncle Thomashness going on. Like some sorcerers are given lots of privileges and monies and treated well as long as they work for the society in power, hunting other sorcerers down. It could be beneficial. The Inquisitor that's a sorcerer hunting others of their type, and when hunting, maybe more recruiting is better, to bring them in, to school them, to train them, to get control of their power. But it could be, yeah, the End King's like, yeah, Days of Future Past, very well. I mean, who's to say now? This could be paranoia, like our own real world witch hunts, where people that just happen to be, air quotes, different are killed just because they, I don't know, they have epileptic seizures, they have two different eye colors, or they're born with, I don't know, their albinism or something like that. Whatever, right? Like there could be some paranoias, or maybe there's an inquisitor that's hidden their abilities this whole time, and everyone thinks that they're a normal human, but they're really a sorcerer, and they're working against the people in power to claim that they are eliminating the sorcerers, but really they're hiding them and taking them across the border where they can be safe. Taking them north, right? There's all kinds of ways you can play this. And what a great turn of events. Like a player character is like, yeah, I'm gonna make up an inquisitor and I'm gonna hunt these people down that are dangerous, and then come to find out that they, maybe they're a small child, or they, my character has a low con and low strength because they're a small child, and this person takes them under their wing and protects them or something. Um, uh, Maybe they are. I once ran a game where one player played the weakest character, who was a noble, and all the other characters around them were part of a noble family, to make sure that that character, who had to escape. And the whole point of the game was, it was like a 6 or 7 parter that we did, where the point was to come back. Um it, it, it was Egyptian themed, desert kind of themed, or whatever, Persian or whatever, and the character had to come back to gain their throne again. And all the characters played, like, one person was there to teach the young person weapons, the other person was the royal spy, another character was an uncle or aunt or so. Like each person was, and one character was played like a shape changing jackal, someone else had power over sand, another person had was like druidic with like scorpions and things like that. It was all kind of cool. Deadman says Star Wars Legends: Age of the Empire. The Inquisitors hunted Force sensitives, and most were also Force sensitives themselves. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. I was trying to. Thank you, Deadman. I was trying to get out of the X-Men thing, because some people aren't into comic books or don't even care about that kind of stuff. But yes, the Inquisitors were Force sensitives that hunted them down. I wish. I, we can get to a Star Wars rant here again, but there's so much great Star Wars background and eras and things like that, and I don't understand how it can be so difficult to do a Sith, Jedi, Inquisitor, um out in the open, multiple types of individuals who have psychic, force sense. Force is like psionics, let's be honest, that the two are related, and you see groups of them walking around and stuff. I don't know why that isn't a thing, because it's easy to pull from. I don't know why they don't have, like, in a Jedi Academy, or We often heard about them wanting to do a yes, we're going to say it, Game of Thrones style political intrigue with the Jedi and Sith and all that. And it's easy. That kind of stuff is easy to do. All you have to do is have somebody hold their hands up or hold their hand up to their head. I can read your mind. Another person pretends like you're reading my mind. Don't you? You don't need special effects for most of that stuff. And then they keep going back to the same force abilities. They come up with brand new stuff, man. Like always the lightning and always the telekinetic thing. But there's so many other tricks of the trade that I think that they could implement for that for different people, especially who are like force sensitive, but they aren't really that good at it. And the Inquisitors are very much like that. And I think sorcerers kind of fit into there. We didn't even talk about warlocks either, like warlock patrons, especially for A5E. The warlock it's literally designed for you to make up your own type of warlock. Your relationship with your patron, how their abilities are set. There have never been any rules for gaining or losing a warlock patron, but just like in A5E and other ways of creating your warlock, you could have a love hate relationship with your warlock patron, and there is some patronage here that talks about how diverse the warlock patrons can be. Maybe your patron isn't an individual. Maybe it's a council of wizards. Maybe it's like what's the way to say this? Maybe it's just power in general calling out to you or anything like that. Yeah, yeah. But let's see if your comment. Oh, your comment doesn't cover my face. Yeah, the way I use something called Restream, and when you ever use Restream, like if I go back to Dead Man's comment here, um, boom, slides right across the face, and yeah, we've got the ticker down below. I can turn that off and stuff like that, but uh, doesn't help my face out too much. Doesn't help out. Although I could put my face back up here like that. There we go. I am seen. Hey everybody, a little bit bright there. But anyway, I thank I thank you guys for being here. Thank all of you who maybe tune in later. Thank you, Dead Man. By the way, for just being part of the show. I I'm hesitant. Let's talk about the elephant in the room while we come to the end here. I'm hesitant to get into the Creators Summit for Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a bit hesitant to talk about like the D&D movie and all those kind of things. I'm I I I'm not a negative individual. It's kind of a waste of my time, and I don't like dwelling on those things. It's easy clicks. It's easy like, yeah, I hate it too, and we could do like a hate fest and stuff. But that's I I'm a person of a certain age that's like I'm too old for the childish games. So, but at some point we will talk about it. But I want to let the heat die down because I'd rather talk about it with reasonable individuals. I know you guys are, but I don't want people diving in and going, "Oh, you're just a shill," or "You're just hating because you don't blah blah." I don't want to get into any of that kind of stuff. When real evidence comes along, whether Dungeons and Dragons, this one D&D or what they're calling just basically fifth edition, a modification. We see more rulings come out, some more play testing. We can talk about that, whether we think it's any good or not. They will be releasing things. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they do with Planescape. And when I say looking forward to it, what I mean is they know that they screwed up when they did the Spelljammer books, right? It looks beautiful, but it's kind of completely useless. I want to see what they do with Planescape, and Planescape is still available. You can go to Drive Through RPG and get the books on print on demand and get all the old Planescape stuff. But I think people want to see a little bit of an update, and I want to know how they handle like alignment, the moral planes and the alignment, and how alignment has disappeared, but Planescape dealt with the physical embodiment of all the alignments and things. It's just a weird thing. So I want to see how they handle it, and they made a huge mistake by making enemies of the tabletop RPG community, especially all of us third party uh, publishers. So it remains to be seen whether they're able to recruit the best and brightest to help them, to help and hire them to make something like this even better. So that's what I want to take a look at. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Again, you'll see things happening in the background a little bit. I've become remonetized. By the way, I think yesterday I got remonetized. I'm going to slowly roll some of that out. I don't like commercials, so I'm going to hold that back. This channel isn't that big, so I don't it's not like I make a living off of this kind of stuff. But if the channel starts to grow, it will be difficult for me to interact with the chat. So I'm going to also start asking you guys to, like, hey, if you have a question or comment, please put in caps like question or DBJ in front of your comment or something like that. And you'll see me start to roll things like that out. We're going to start incorporating memberships, super chats. I know who all of you who've been here for extremely long time. I am not asking anything of you. You know who you are. If you know who you are, then you know who you are. I'm going to figure out a way to make it free to put you guys in that category. To then over time, I'll probably keep it open for about a month or two to let people come in that want to be part of like the freeness of this channel, and then start incorporating a pay to interact kind of tiered system, so you guys can jump into it free, so you don't have, I'm not asking anything of you, but I don't want to block you behind a wall or something like that, you know what I mean? We'll figure out something out. Oh, thank you very much. It's never the money, but let's be honest, it's kind of the money. Money equates to the physical embodiment of thank yous, and being appreciated, and that's a way to do it. So, but I don't ask things of that who I consider people to be part of my friend group. So that's another thing too. I don't take handouts either. So yeah, we'll figure something out. Especially like Dead Man. I don't know how to. Oh shit, who's been here forever and been eternally supportive, especially during my downtimes, and the fact that, I mean, keeping the Discord going and all that kind of, oh, there's a bunch of bullshit that I don't know if how and when or if I'll ever be able to repay it. And considering we're two people from different political point of views, I love it because I feel like we could almost have a like a weird um I almost feel like if in a different world we could have created like a argumentative back and forth type of like, this has nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons or role playing games, but like kind of a back and forth like political podcast or something like that in a different world. I feel like we'd be able to do that, and I'm not. Part of me is like, maybe that's still possible if years to come. I'm a long termer, so who knows? Who knows? And I'm dead. I know Dead Man points me. I bet Dead Man would disagree with me on that fact, and is like, you don't think you're the political side you think you are. I mean, him say that to me, which I can't argue with that either. Anyway, guys, have a great one. I really appreciate you guys being here. Um, it's the end of the stream. I'm just rambling because that's normally where we go. Um, Crossfire 2? I don't know what that refers to. But uh don't answer it. We're going to get out of here before you answer it. I'm going to dwell on that for the rest of the day. Anyway, guys, got to get out of here. I'll see you later. Have a good one. Peace.